Our next speaker is Ray McGovern, former CIA analyst who chaired the National Intelligence Estimates in the 1980s, and he prepared the daily briefs for presidents from John F. Kennedy to George H.W. Bush. So now, Ray McGovern.
Thank you, Norm, and thanks to all my colleagues. I don't have to read the Fourth Amendment as I usually do at the beginning of all my remarks. I would add that in the debate that Tom referred to, General Hayden added that, look, I didn't have to ask Mother May I had the authority to do what I did. Gross violation of the Fourth Amendment. That was the same debate, was it not, Tom? Well, I'm not going to take a lot of time now. I want to focus on the seminal event of this century, which you all know is 9/11. We had the information that should have prevented 9/11. Now, we all know how the CIA screwed up, intentionally or not, by not sharing the information on those two characters in San Diego. We all know how the FBI screwed up by not allowing Colleen Rowley and her associates to pursue Moussaoui. But no one knows that NSA had all the information necessary on that terrorist site in Yemen, including the telephone number, not only of that site, but of the two hijackers in San Diego. How do I know that? These people here can attest to it, especially Tom, who looked into it at the direction of the NSA authorities, who told him, Tom, I really wish you hadn't told us that, and he was suppressed. What I'm saying here is very, very serious. Michael Hayden, the head of NSA, suppressed the information that would have certainly, or almost certainly, led to the prevention of 9/11. Why is that important? Well, it's important because there were no whistleblowers around at the time. Now, Colleen Rowley and Bogdan Zakovich, a name you probably don't recognize, but who headed up the red team for the FAA, found out before 9/11 that he could penetrate not only airfields but airplanes 9 out of 10 times with his red team. All that would have been necessary is to put locks on the doors of the cockpit, and they didn't do it. Did Zakovich get a hearing? No, he didn't. He was suppressed. Now, again, whether it was misfeasance or malfeasance, the historians will have to decide, but he was suppressed. Colleen Rowley and Bogdan wrote an article. It's in the LA Times. Look it up. The title is What If? What if there were WikiLeaks? What if there were The Intercept? What if there were honest people really interested in getting at the truth to warn the American people about the dangers? What if? Well, you see here people who tried to do it and could not do it because of the lack of a way to get the news out. Why is Eric Holder and our president being so tough on whistleblowers? Why is James Risen the bête noire? They couldn't get Risen, but they were reasonably sure they could get Jeffrey Sterling. On the vaguest of circumstantial evidence, were there telephone calls between Jeffrey Sterling and James Risen? Yes, there were. Ha-ha. Was this Project Merlin mentioned in any of those telephone calls? Well, no, but there were a lot of calls. You have the hanging of a person against whom the case was not proven. So, what does this all mean to me? I guess it means to me that this is replete with miscarriages of justice. The most recent one, the one that I sat in court watching, the miscarriage of justice against Jeffrey Sterling, who the Justice Department wanted to make an example of. Lesson, do not, whatever you do, speak to journalists. Do not, whatever you do, especially not speak to James Risen. It's clear as a bell. The final indignity has to do with the sentencing. Now, we all know my friend General Petraeus has gotten a little wrist slap. He's been fined an appreciable amount of money, but it amounts to 3/4 of what he gets for an hour lecture, 3/4 of what he gets for an hour lecture, Now, when the Justice Department, let me put it this way, when the real lawyers and there are some real lawyers still in the Justice Department, saw what David Petraeus had done. Given the most sensitive information, including the names of clandestine agents, clandestine case officers, including code word material to his mistress, and then lied to the FBI about it, they wanted to go after him. You know, it used to be, I don't know, did they change the law? It used to be a felony to lie to the FBI, especially when they told you that they were doing a criminal investigation. So what happened? Well, he got off, right? Now, the supreme indignity, which you probably don't know about, is that we were at the trial, a lot of us, in January. We saw what happened. February was clear, he's going to be sentenced. Going to be sentenced on April 24th. Okay, well, on April 16th, we got word, no, it's not going to be on the 24th. It will be later, May 11th. And we said, well, why? You know, this was planned. Well, it turned out that General Petraeus was going to be sentenced on April 23rd. You know, there's not much embarrassment left in our government, but even our government felt that could be a little embarrassing for General Petraeus to be let off with a wrist slap and Jeffrey Sterling to be sentenced to whatever he'd going to be sentenced to. Now, his lawyers are working on that, but that's the kind of establishment we have in this country. You call it democracy, it's not very constitutional, and in this case, equal justice, forget about it. Thank you very much.